Imagine you lived in a world where everything was a lie that was designed to sway you from ever looking within and truly reality testing, where the hardware of your flesh was programmed incorrect with a purposefully designed OS that inverted almost everything in order to erect a genuine fiction that was beyond questioning. He who did would be labeled as schizophrenic or conspiracy theorist for spotting links that, to others, did not exist. It is telling that those diagnosed with the malady of seeing things are the only humans on the planet that do not fall for optical illusions. How would they keep things in check? Could they provide a type of vent that allowed the kettle to scream without causing so much as a breeze to hit the house of cards they'd erected in your consciousness? What if they cast a spell using an old Hollywood trick that used a single plane of Saturn, he who reps time and space up in this bish, to do such a thing? A form of mass hypnosis / state conditioning that represented the things within via a tightly edited script that then beamed back its message to your subconscious. All is correct. Carry on as intended, and remember to tune in for your regularly scheduled programming. See, there are 3 types of minds in this realm. 81% are enslaved by their ignorance and will die to protect the system that made them like this. Why? Because that is what the voice in their head tells them. 8% get that they aren't that which talks but the state that listens, and a few extrapolate how this is constant, whether asleep or awake, as they see technical scenes behind closed lids that seem exceedingly real and genuine until they gain a higher res, and then they spot the links that make no sense. They then take this mindset and apply it to the world as it is, and notice certain edifices are actually paper thin, and thus the illusion only works when seen from the prescribed angle they said back when. 11% know it's a fib and work to exploit the rest for their own mirth and entertainment. Welcome to the game of souls, my friend, where gods wearing flesh believe they're only human, and thus remain mostly ignorant of the immense skills they possess, as they were, long ago, disconnected from their inner realms and the greatest gift it brings: imagination. I mean, surely you have noticed how, since the net became big, virtually all forms of art are now totally predictable, with nothing new or original in the mix. Did you also spot the link between early AI-generated images and dreams? As in how they both glitched out at rendering fingertips and had that same ethereal tint that recently has become indistinguishable from the real thing. What if the Matrix was a hint of reality as it is, and you're currently being fed upon by a predator of consciousness that manifests as the voice in your head which, at this very moment, is telling you that this is a load of ridiculous BS and commanding you direct your attention elsewhere? See, long ago I clicked we're inside a simulation. It just made perfect sense and seemed inevitable as I watched the leap in tech from 8 to 16 bits that doubled again. Research confirmed this, but most thought I was off my head when I broached the topic, which left me perplexed as they would not even entertain it. Then the Matrix hit, and I grinned. Finally, I can skip the preamble and ask the big questions. Didn't happen. It's just entertainment, a movie flick. This is really real, you idiot. But what is real? The base totality of your reality is that you're wearing flesh on a planet that floats in the abyss as it chases a fireball off into the distance, and all the bodies overhead are arranged with a curious resonance that contains loads of 108s that make its naturalness highly improbable and downright suspicious. It's not just me saying this, because I researched the Vedic texts most ancient, and they stated exactly the same thing, and how consciousness is everything. I mean, look, surely you have pondered how Star Wars told you a story of a conflict far away and long ago, and yet the Vedic text detail exactly the same thing, and weapons that blazed with the power of 1,000 suns. Doesn't that seem a bit strange? See, we like to think that time is a straight line, so we go from cavemen, ooga booga, and then here's the internet, thank you very much. But what if that's a lie? What if we didn't evolve, but actually devolved? What if that's the matter with spirit? I mean, with techno-sapiens around the corner, you can see how the world is going to get set adrift on the silicon wings. So maybe it's not much of a reach, is it? We, in reality, are aspects of the prime who pre-exists, which is akin to a candle illuminated, and you believing the wax and wick made it shine, when in reality, they're just containing it, for the moment. Reality has an official story that is externally sanctioned and imprinted back when, via school, your parents, peers, and mass media's influence. One of the things I always ask my clients to do is to draw up a timeline of their lives from 0 to 10. Fill in as much detail as you can, then break it down again and see how much of that came from within and what was Control-C, Controlled-V'd from other sources. Most are stunned to see, in red ink, exactly how much of their mind was pre-built and not internally generated. Think of this as a Truman awakening. See, they cannot fully eradicate intuition, and thus they scratch the itch via fiction, which presents facts about the true sketch via the lens of entertainment. For some this may seem like a stretch, but others will comprehend and see what kicks, as they noticed how the Simpsons seem to unerringly predict the strangest of things, ranging from 3 consecutive Super Bowl wins, elections, and even the rudiments of the Higgs-boson equation. At this point, the well-adjusted will yell, the right has academics and his best friend is an astronomer, ergo the pieces are designed to fit, you idiot. Once again, it makes sense if seen from one lens, but on the flip, this was 14 years before the particle's discovery, and Homer's equation is remarkably close to the actual digits they gained in 2012 once it was in their grip. Really ponder all of the variables and how improbable this seems in reality, then cross-reference with what I said about dream logic being solid until you transcend its grip. The name of the episode? The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, aka a magician in fancy dress, and the holly wood they weave is just this, as its hue doesn't shift with the seasons. Once again, this hints that the flame illuminating the candle of your awareness is eternal, just visiting this realm. In, but certainly not of. Other things can also prove this, like the sense of being stared at, dreams, precognitive, and how you just happen to think of a friend you haven't seen in ages before you bump into him that day at the market. Like most everyday miracles, people write them off super quick. I mean, a profitable question into which one can invest their attention is who keeps sending the prophets from a distance that another side kills dead and then twists their message of unification and Gnosis into division and conflict that causes the tills to ring. Not for nothing does the preacher gain profits immense. Look into the wealth of these churches and you'll see how they all hold billions and trillions on deck. Better yet, research the original Hell's Angel herself who, with a PR campaign immense, sent loads of people to a painful death with a stealth conversion thrown in, with only an aspirin to comfort them, whilst her own level of personal wealth was so immense that she could have bankrupted the Vatican by withdrawing it. More to heaven and earth, my friend. Are you starting to see the code of the Matrix yet? Why is anyone who questions reality seen as a schizo or conspiracy theorist for even daring to suggest there is something amiss with the official sketch? Why do you spend your weak days waiting to get weekend, but never question the spell as a cheery good morning drips from your lips not long after waking? All of these are funeral terms, hence let the dead bury the dead. I mean, surely you noticed how many flicks have a JC savior thrown in the mix, yes? In order to prevent rebellion, they sell and tell in 90-minute images something that scratches the itch deep within without ever truly spelling out the links. Perception is the key, aka upping your res. Plato called it a cave. Shakespeare said it was a stage, and I state it is the game of souls, and right now it has you, my friend. To prevent the gnosis of this, they weave together narratives, which is why you often see the same actors dressed in different skins, but playing roles identical. Bonus if it's a team effort. Pay attention to the subtext. Push the pen and lean in and watch active, instead of a passive pebble on the beach of entertainment that has its sharp edges smoothed quick to prevent mass rebellion. I said in the other vid about how the net is a weapon, and it is. Check that out and see what you think. Even if it's with a view to prove me incorrect, as I'm certain the next time your phone presents a rec for something you never said out loud, nor searched a reference beyond a mere thought in your head, you will stop and think about the black mirror you grip and the implications therein. I mean, consider that a baby's brainwaves, upon stepping into this realm, are identical with those of an adult under the influence of a hallucinogenic, and then from the ages of 2 till 6, they are in theta waves, which are the same as the fully grown in a state of hypnosis. Starting to see the edges of this one-eyed pyramid scheme yet? The wildest thing is that without you, nothing exists. You are the prime mover and shaker of this realm, ergo I am a figment of your imagination, sending this message from my reality tunnel to the one in your head that is as invisible as water to a fish. Not for me though, as I died and came back again, ergo gained the Gnosis and verification that my suspicions were correct. So before you start having sex with the robot help to assuage that loneliness intense, why not take a moment out to stop and think? In a few, we shall start decoding a lot of the myths, both celluloid and terrestrial. Like the whole Hoffman riding his bike whilst taking the first trip, and how the former president of JP Morgan and his wife went viral back when, telling the whole world that shrooms were the next big thing. I mean, even his own daughter is on record stating that the whole thing is a fiction and totally improbable. So if you think I need a tinfoil turban, then one thing is for certain, the game of souls has you, my friend. Till we meet again.